Welcome, everybody, to our New Technology Advancement and Innovations panel. We are very excited to get the panel going. There are lots of amazing new consumer behavior changes and expectations. So this is a great panel because we have a very diverse panel of successful and growing companies to share more about their innovations and advancements. But before we get into those juicy questions and answers, we're going to get them to introduce a bit about their company and also their innovations and how it has already been elevating consumer experience. So first up, we have Alex, Chief Commercial Officer of SweatWorks.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for having me on the panel here today. It's a pleasure to join you all. So SweatWorks, we are a software and hardware technology agency. We're focused entirely on the fitness and wellness industry. So we build everything from websites and mobile apps through to complete connected fitness products. We started out almost 10 years ago, will be 10 years in April, with focusing on building products like apps and websites and digital experiences for brands like Equinox and Strava and Spartan Race. But in the last 2 or 3 years, we've expanded significantly into the connected hardware space. We've launched connected products for brands like Climber and City Row and Beachbody. So our focus now is really on creating true omnichannel experiences and helping our clients to find white space and find technology that they can build that differentiates them, whether that's around connected hardware, multimedia, music video experiences, wearables, wearable integration, or creating a community around their brand.
Thank you, Alex. Next up, we'll have Chris, Education and Performance Specialist of Evolt, to share more about the company and also how they have been elevating customer experience.
Joe, thanks for having me, and it's good to meet everybody. So I am Chris Reeder. I work here at Evolt stateside. We are split. Main headquarters is there in Australia, and then we do have a location here in the United States. The big thing with Evolt, and I was speaking to Ross about this, is there have been at a very base level, we are a bioelectrical impedance analysis body composition company. A lot of our clients are your bigger franchises in terms of gyms across the world, and we work very closely with self-esteem brands. The cool thing about Evolt, even since the time I've been here, is we've transitioned from a hardware company to a software company. So, the scan, getting your scan, seeing your body fat percent and your muscle mass is fun. Everybody loves it. But we've created our own app as well as a true, cloud-based dashboard on the back end for coaches and for coaches to be able to manage their clients' information a little more objectively. So that's kind of how we have kind of transitioned here in the last year and a half, and we are truly kind of shifting our focus as being a hardware company to a hardware software company. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Next up, have Juraj, CEO of Somavedic Technologies. Could you share more about your company and also innovations that you have currently?
I'm Juraj, and I'm the CEO of Somavedic Technologies. And we are a producer of a subtle frequency therapy device used for at homes and health and wellness centers and office spaces. Basically, the idea behind the Somavedic device is to mitigate the negative effects of EMF, electromagnetic radiation, because this is a topic that not many people are talking about, and there are like hundreds of studies showing that it is disrupting our sleep, our health, our cells. And we know of cases that no matter your diet or exercise, that this is a part that people should be thinking about, the EMF. So Somavedic is a desktop product that is creating a field around it that is basically like mitigating the effects of EMF, and it's helping, for example, the cells to regenerate faster, to lower the levels of free radicals, to improve the sleep and HRV. And We are on the market since 2010, growing really fast, especially in US and Japan. And our goal is to bring actively harmonized space into our homes, health and wellness centers, and office spaces, so people are more healthy and more productive.
Perfect. Thanks, Juraj. Last but not least, we have Nick, Vice President of Global Business Development, Therabody. Could you share more about your company and also innovations that have been revolutionizing the market?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Nicholas Trosko, the Vice President of Global Business Development for Therabody, specific to health clubs and fitness and wellness space. We are a tech wellness company that focuses on recovery products. We serve both the consumer and the commercial markets. I think that we're best well known for the Theragun. However, in the last year, we've also expanded into additional modalities, including compression technology, electric stimulation, and CBD. In the health club space specifically, we focus on helping create some unique member experiences that are, based around a tangible space in a club, service elements, classes, and certainly retail is a part of that as well.
Thank you so much, Nick. So we have seen lots of amazing growth and advancements of these companies. The next question I have for you, gents, would be what markets, countries, or segments do you think are your biggest wins in the short and medium term? And also, where do you see the greatest long-term opportunities? Or do you have any targets or goals set for yourself in 2022? So I'll first bring on Alex to share more about any, short, medium-term big wins and any growth opportunities for the future.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, we've been around for almost a decade, and our focus to date has been very much on the US market. More recently in the consumer space, so consumer and connected hardware products. But I think the real opportunity for us in the medium and long term is bringing our expertise and experience in creating omnichannel experiences to bear on the commercial sector. So, as you can imagine, we're talking to a lot of leading boutique and big box fitness brands at the moment about how to create a differentiating omnichannel experience for their members and customers. So we are definitely going to be continuing to scale in the US. In fact, we're opening a new innovation center in our headquarters in Arlington, Virginia in the first half of next year. So we're going to be continuing to grow our team and our presence here. But it's also not an accident that I'm usually based in London. So one of my priorities in the next 12 to 24 months is going to be international expansion. So looking at how we can bring our experience to brands in Europe and Asia in particular. And then in terms of our goals, that we grew almost 300% in 2020. We're expecting similar growth this year, and we're not planning to slow down in 2022. So lots to come from us there.
That's so amazing to hear. 300% growth is amazing. How about Chris? What would you say are your biggest wins in the short, medium term? And also, where do you see the greatest long-term opportunities for yourself?
Yeah, so I mentioned it earlier, but the biggest thing with Evolt and the thing we're really excited about it is we're procured the preferred vendor for self-esteem brands. So whenever there's an Anytime Fitness, they have an Evolt, it's awesome and it's fun. And, we just got back from conference and hearing the feedback from that, the excitement with moving forward with again, not only this, the scanner itself, but the back end technology we offer as well is kind of the biggest win for us, with BIA technology as a whole. I think we all know here on the panel, there are some guys and companies that have been in the game for a really long time. And to finally, for a younger company, less than 10 years old, we're kind of competing with the big boys, so to speak. So like here, we're all excited and we're growing quick. And so it's one of those things that, we're moving and we're doing it. So it's actually happening. So that's kind of the biggest short-term goal that we've hit that we're really excited about. In terms of long-term goal, I would say, we definitely have a really good foothold here in the States as well as in Australia. Kind of there's that weird middle ground in continental Europe that, they know us, but they don't really know us. So slowly as the world's returning back to normal and opening up, we've had more and more interactions with people across the European market. That is kind of where we aren't the strongest. And so that's kind of our focus moving forward.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Love your energy. Next up, we have Juraj. So we know wellness is increasing. There's lots more people interested in it these days. So where would you say, what markets, countries, or segments would you say are your biggest wins? And also, where are your greatest long-term opportunities?
Yes, so definitely our biggest win is the US market. We are a D2C company, and we are in our field. We are dominating the health and wellness and biohacking area. We collaborate with the top influencers from this industry. Our 2020 growth was 10x compared to 2019. Current year, we are growing 4 times compared to previous year. So that's a substantial growth. And but what we see as the biggest potential is the B2B, especially with the network of functional medicine doctors, osteopath, chiropractors, and not to mention corporate wellness, making office spaces, to bring our technology there to certify the actively harmonized space. So this is where we see the biggest opportunity.
Amazing. That's amazing to hear. Next, we have Nick. What would you say are, the market segments or countries that are your biggest wins, and any goals or targets you have set for yourself in 2022?
Yeah, and it's kind of unique, I think, for us, relatively new to the space, really just about 2.5 years since we kind of, really launched and kicked off pretty aggressively. And I think COVID kind of dictated, where our target was going to be. Certainly there are some parts of the world that were heavily impacted and are still restricted. So I think that, US by default, not just for the purpose of being a US company, but also in terms of, the opportunity that was last year. We did see heavy growth last year, kind of, looking at about a 400% increase in door count in terms of, places that we're working with. But, for us, we look at the emerging markets now, as the UK has come back, Western Europe, we've had a ton of success there. And, now that we've really grown our consumer brand and everything inside of, the APAC region, I think what we're trying to do is take a look at, hey, what worked best in the US markets and help emulate and mirror that as best we can within the markets in the other parts of the world. In terms of next year, I think, what we're looking at doing is pretty heavy expansion into the EMEA markets and then APAC as well.
Perfect. Riding on to that, Nick, I want to know, could you share any new capabilities or features that you would unlock in the future? And you've already been doing some great work, but how would then these features further transform the market and benefit customers?
Yeah. Even since I started, I think our focus was always saying, how do we get a consumer product, regardless of its appeal, to work in a commercial environment? So obviously, COVID did have some benefits of, letting us kind of let our hair down a little bit, kind of refocus, vet what the opportunities are. And our goal was always to shift into commercial amenities, and turning, products into autonomous amenities that any club could adopt to inside of their ecosystem and take control over the monetization. So I think a lot of our innovations, at least in this space, are, how can we give clubs the control over the monetization of whether it's a service element, whether it's hardware, in their club, so that they can get the best ROI possible.
Right. Do you agree with that, Chris? Is it something similar that you are looking towards in terms of new features or new goals in the future?
Yeah, and I think Nick nailed it. Honestly, it truly is. You have a product now. The goal is, once someone has this product, how do you make it worth their while? How do they see a return on their investment? And as it relates to Evolt, we started selling the machine. Get your scan. But with the app that we now have, as well as the cloud-based dashboard, Evolt Insights. All of those things integrate into other ecosystems that are used with our clients. So, we have worked with our clients' preferred technologies, and our technology speaks very well and pulls into theirs. And it is one of those things now that, we're not just a freestanding scanner in the corner of your gym. The information we can provide then helps coaches create better conversations with clients, whether it is about, their performance, their recovery, how they're progressing or regressing. It does, we want to help create that return on investment in terms of being able to generate relationships between coaches and clients and create this kind of buy-in process using, with our product being the main reason for that.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I want to ask Alex, so when you're expanding internationally and with all the successful clients that you've had, are there any new features or capabilities that you have learned from all these successful case studies? And would that be similar to how you would implement in the Asia Pacific region?
Yeah, I think the important thing to keep in mind is that we at SweatWorks we're an agency rather than a platform. So what we do is we build very custom solutions that our customers can actually own. So we're not constrained by a sort of particular product roadmap or our particular goals. What we do is we figure out exactly what our customers need to be successful and help them build it. And our approach there is we work with platforms. We have a partner ecosystem, and we use a lot of platforms where it makes sense. So, it doesn't make sense to rebuild something that already exists. You use the best-in-class tools that are in the market. But what we do is we help our customers to focus on innovation. So focus on building the things that don't exist and stitching the platforms together into an ecosystem that helps them deliver something really unique. So we do a lot of work, particularly all of our projects at the moment have some element of AI or machine learning. We've built out a big AI engineering team over the last 12, 18 months. So we do a lot around using platforms together, creating recommendation engines, form correction, that kind of thing, using AI. And we also do a lot around community. So helping brands to build a digital community, and whether that's, sort of simple challenges or reward programs or amazing live streaming experiences, or building their own currency that actually is relatable to their brand and helps their members to sort of track their progress in a meaningful way. Those are sort of some of the common threads that we see across most of our projects. But really what our goal is to take that partner ecosystem and then stitch it together in a way that is really differentiating for a customer's brand.
Amazing. Love the customization and evolving with your customers depending on what they already have and what they're achieving or want to achieve. All right, you're right. This Somavedic device, you are now having it in Singapore as well. You have a Singapore website and you want to grow more in Asia Pacific. So are there any new capabilities or features that you guys are researching on, working on, that will further even transform this new market?
Yes. So one of the unique things about Somavedic is that it's so versatile. Basically, it looks like a lamp. You bring it home, put it on the table, plug it in, and that's it. It's doing its magic. So there's nothing except the strength that we can improve. But what we want to do is to basically build awareness about EMF, how to improve our lifestyle. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, we are working on the actively harmonized space certification, which means if you would put like 2 Somavedics into 1,000 square feet room or co-working space, the experience we have from doctors that are using it, that we know that it's increasing productivity. They said they have more energy, they can handle more patients. So we want to bring value to employers, and that will bring the value to the employees. So creating these harmonious spaces and more productive spaces where people are feel better, live better, and are more productive. So this is what we wanna create and collaborate with various partners, that it's benefiting basically the whole chain.
Yeah, I like that idea. And there are so many technologies now and so many platforms, so many products available in the market. What would you say, Juraj, is how should business owners focus, or what can they demand from their existing solution providers or tech providers? Like, how would you advise them, if they want to choose something that works well for their business?
Yeah, so I can only, explain how we are doing things, or if we have a supplier, or if there's something that we are interested in. It's always you can never go, let's say, wrong with creating value, additional value for the customer. Of course, you have to know what that means for a specific audience, but this is the rule that we are following. For example, giving for our product, we have 60-day money back return guarantee. That means they can test it out. If they don't feel satisfied, they can return it and they'll get the money. So each business has its specific things where they can create value to attract more customers, but also for their suppliers, give them the feedback, what they can improve, or yeah.
Perfect. I also now want to bring in Nick. So on that front, with many technologies complementing the fitness and wellness industry, how would you advise business owners on what can they talk to their solution providers or tech partners like yourself?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think that the first one would be, and really I think this goes along with what Alex had mentioned too about kind of being an agency, is I think to some degree, especially if you are a newer vendor, you have to involve your clients in the ideation phase. So, especially if you're trying to evolve something that's going to allow them to monetize it directly and or indirectly. If they're not a part of that and you're trying to kind of fit a square peg in a round hole, it's not going to work. And I also think that, secondarily, that there needs to be synergy, right? So if the product or anything you're providing is so outside the scope of operation from a traditional kind of day-to-day operational model for a club, it's very challenging to have any transparency around engagement on it, anything like that. So I think that synergy and creating a synergistic environment in which, hopefully everything's kind of all in one place, whether that be on a software platform or inside of, a certain spot in the club. But then also, demanding more from the providers in terms of saying, hey, I need a solution that fits me. And then I think kind of vetting that is you'll understand like who can really support commercial initiatives, who can really get behind this and create an initiative that externally and internally, and then obviously, evolve that so it can actually scale, especially when you're talking about such a large organization like Chris gave the example of self-esteem brands, right?
Segue and bring Alex in, because I think the whole idea of synergistic and getting our partners involved is very much what SweatWorks is all about. So do you want to share a bit more about this process of how you advise business owners on what they need, what they should have, or what they should not have? Any things that you have in your experience would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree. That's really at the heart of what we do. We have a golden rule at SweatWorks, which is avoiding the sea of sameness. Fundamentally, you don't want your digital experience just to be identical to everybody else's. So it's really about finding the combinations that work for you and finding ways to differentiate. And there are three ways that you can differentiate by building a digital experience. The first one being with your business model. So you can either, provide better value or provide it in a different way from your competitors. You can innovate with content. So you can have a better experience, better content, more variety, better instructors, and so on. And content is a very easy thing to underestimate when you're building a digital experience. Or the third way that you can differentiate is with your ecosystem. So using your combination of platforms and using your different platforms in a different way to everybody else. So connect them together better, extract the data more, and put it more to work than anybody else. And whether that's creating an amazing recommendation engine or building the right acquisition and retention journeys that you need as a business, it's really about that interplay between the different elements and bringing the platforms together in a way that works. So I think if you look at what your demand should be, if you're looking at bringing in a new platform, the kind of the table stakes really are stability and scalability, making sure that the platform is robust, it's reliable, and it's scalable enough to scale with your business. But you also want flexibility. So you want this flexibility to connect your ecosystem effectively. And so that relies on things like amazing APIs and really good insights, really good dashboards. So the one thing I would say when you're looking at platforms is when you're doing a platform demo, really dig in on reporting capabilities, API capabilities, all of those underlying features, rather than just kind of, don't just be wowed with customer facing features. You've got to think about how a platform fits into your ecosystem and how you can use it with everything else in your business.
I like that. I like how you mentioned fitting it into the ecosystem. I think I wanted to ask Chris, because I've tracked the Evolt scan and there are lots of data points, I would say, and my trainer, to be fair, he did not know how to, or didn't want to focus on explaining everything. So I just want to know, what do you think, like how can people fully utilize, how can business owners fully utilize Evolt to the fullest potential, and how you advise them?
Yeah. And, this was never fun going after Alex because he literally nailed everything so with Evolt, we do pride ourselves on our ecosystem. And it truly is, and, you've seen it. You've seen this, the most acute thing in that being the scan, kind of that middle ground of you can go and, track your scans via the app and, get little explanations of what things mean. But then, for your coach, for your trainer, he, will have access to his dashboard, the back end, so he can track everything. He can, start reporting and pooling data to fit what you need and what your goals are in your training. And so that's kind of how we've approached when we present to clients. It's, all these products are fantastic independently. For the scan is neat, it wows, the app, the ease to use it. And then, for the coaches, the dashboard is great in terms of being able to have actual, objectable, actionable data to use. But how does that work all together? And Alex nailed it. It has to be easy for them. And I do think that that's kind of what we pride ourselves on compared to some of our competitors. Like, we want you to use all these things. We believe in all these products. So we want it to be easy for you to use these things. It's not fun, if you get all this stuff and we say, hey, see you later. Good luck learning how to use it. And so, it's just not practical. And so, moving forward, and whether it's Evolt, whether it's whatever you want to use in terms of integrating the technologies, it should be easy for you to use. And if it's not, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money, and you're not getting good things from your purchase, from your investment. And then the other thing is taking a step back, kind of what people should demand. I do think, and I get this a lot sometimes when I get calls from clients, that I think people are afraid to give you suggestions that, whether they think it's rude or it's like, no, as companies that, being in this industry, with health, fitness, and technology, like, we need this information to get better. And so I do think that if you can't get a hold of someone, or when you present them with ideas of, hey, could you potentially do this? Or are you all thinking about making it, do something like this? And you're met with a brick wall, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. And I do encourage, vendors and clients they call me if you have suggestions. Maybe I'm not the guy that can make the final decision on it, but this is information that we use to get better as a company, and in the full circle of it, to help you on your return investment in us. Yeah.
I can also vouch for the service part, because there was once I couldn't log into the device, and immediately there's someone to call, and it's a real person to chat with. So that was quite incredible. I would ask the next question to you first, Dan, so that you are before Alex. So, the whole idea of this new hybrid world, we talked about omni-channel and, having multiple ecosystems and synergistic working relationships. So I just want to know what your thoughts are, or how would you think, like traditional clubs or gyms or spas can be remodeled or redesigned? How can we rethink the offering to customers?
Yeah, so it's kind of a cop-out, but I think COVID did this for us. I think, for a long time it was seen as like full brick and mortars, like you have to come in to see your coach, your trainer, to get results. And COVID taught us, that's not necessarily true. So, I've seen a lot of facilities we work with, a lot of companies we work with that have switched to a full virtual, depending on where they are and their restrictions, a full kind of virtual sector for those clients. And it's neat because, again, speaking just as with Evolt, it's nice to say that, the clients that come in the brick and mortar, they can use our products. The clients that are now virtual completely, they can use our products. And so I do think, as technology becomes more of an everyday thing in the health and fitness, your facilities being able to shift virtually and still use those products is kind of, I think, where the facilities are taking the next steps. They're already doing it. I don't think it needs to be done. It's already being done, which is really cool to see. Yeah.
It's like COVID fast forward all the plans that we had, right? To create.
It did, yeah. We adapted, and now look at us, yeah.
Thanks, Chris. How about Nick? When you speak with clients, what do you think? Like, how would you rethink the whole club, gym, spa? Are there any ideas that you think can be, implemented?
Yeah. And we deal a lot now with kind of tangible space, and clubs looking at, recovery lounges or zones or, some form or fashion of it. But, I think from a technology perspective, kind of speaking, I think mostly to kind of virtual kind of experiences. I think the one thing I would say is to probably, really kind of vet what's out there as an opportunity, as opposed to rushing to invest into a complete redesign of any sort of space. You're already starting to see, a lot of kind of your, bigger at-home companies start to see a reduction in terms of, volume and stuff that's going out as people are returning to the gym. And I do think that, gyms traditionally provide something that, a virtual experience just cannot. The tangibility around community, in terms of, for a lot of people, it is their social activity that they choose to do. It's for some people, it would probably be up there with religion, it's their church. So I think that there's a lot of things that you're saying, hey, if I'm going to, dip my toes into kind of that virtual experience, definitely understanding, like what is out there, from a partner perspective, can they support me? Kind of like we were talking about in the last question, considering there's so many new platforms and experiences out there. And then what is really the opportunity, and pay close attention to check-in data, to membership, everything that's happening in the last, 4 or 5 months. And then as you go into the next year, before you really commit heavily into something that may not have as much legs, obviously, going into the, let's say the tail end of next year as things, hopefully return to normalcy.
Yeah, perfect. Nick, fitness is my therapy. I agree with you. It's like way up there. So I totally resonate. Juraj, I want to bring you in here because Nick mentioned about wellness recovery lounges, and may or may not be a good idea for all businesses to redesign, remodel. But from your conversations with partners, how do you think they can, rethink the whole concept in order to perform better in this hybrid world?
Yes. So as we as a company are not a supplier for fitness centers, but I will be, I personally also love to go to gym, so virtually, exercising and or using these services, that was nothing for me. And I was really excited when the gyms reopened. So, that's as Nick said, it's almost like a church for me. And I really need that community. I really need the trainer. But for me, what at least here in Czech Republic in Prague, what fitness centers could improve are the state-of-the-art tools and products that all of the panelists are basically creating and making, and data, like nicely visualized data about the exercise and outcomes and trends. So this is for me, at least for my region, what I would like to see happening, and where I would see as a consumer the value.
Perfect. Thanks, Juraj. Alex, I want to ask you, so you have so many clients that you customize things for, and you have been helping lots of connected fitness products as well. So from your thoughts, what do you think are ways that traditional, clubs, gym, spas can remodel, redesign to really perform better in this new hybrid world?
I think it's it's easy to be daunted by the prospect of digitization when you come from the physical world, and the advance of big tech and some of the investments that are going into digital platforms. But I think there are a couple of real reasons to be optimistic and real opportunities for the space. And we already talked about community. Nick and Juraj, you highlighted the fact that that is a huge unfair advantage that the clubs have. And I think that also plays into trust. So clubs build a community, they have a physical presence, which means that they're trusted way more than big tech. So when you think about the big tech players and the large online players coming into the market, there is this kind of inherent reservation with use of data and the way that the experience is personalized, which I think the clubs have a real opportunity to break this down, and people will fundamentally be, they'll have a deeper relationship. They'll be less suspicious of digital products that are brought to them by club operators, and it gives you a bigger opportunity to use that experience and use the data in a smart way. And I think the second opportunity is we mustn't lose sight of the fact that whoever owns the customer wins. And I think Amazon have proven that when you just look at the Amazon marketplace and the amount of revenue that they take purely just for bringing customers into other businesses. So we need to not lose sight of the fact that, Peloton might have 2.5 million connected subscribers today, but as an industry, we have 200 million members using clubs. So we need to capitalize on that community and really find ways of capturing that customer that we already own. So I think there are a lot of opportunities ahead, and I think we just need to continue to evolve and learn some of the lessons from sectors like retail that have already been disrupted in this way, and retail is becoming a lot more experiential in the physical offering, and I think we'll see definitely the same kind of thing in the club space for sure.
Yeah, I agree. There's so much we can learn from other industries, right? Like all the other retail or even F&B, there's lots that we can learn from them. We are almost at the end of our panel, and we have this very interesting question where we want to find out or want to ask you guys what are the technologies or innovations you think could dominate the future of fitness and wellness, from next year and beyond. So I'll bring in Chris first to share your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I think, with kind of how the world has been the last year and a half or so, it's always been, all of us on this panel, we could probably all attest to it. We've all been on the go. And COVID, I think, kind of reset some things. And here in the last 3 to 5 years, at least in terms of, some of the research that's coming out as well as some of the products we're seeing commercially, I think we're taking a step back and saying, training is great, health and fitness are great, but there's that component afterwards, that window of time before you come in again and train. It's the recovery aspect, the true wellness aspect of it. So you can lift all the weight in the world, you can run for miles and miles and miles, but how are you recovering to continue to do this, to continue to hit your wellness goals? And I do think that wellness sector, Nick, you see Therabody and Theragun everywhere now. I think people are really tapping into, taking time for them to say like, okay, I don't have to be on the go all the time. I can recover and do the things and take care of myself in terms of the true health component of health and fitness. So I do think, that is where I see a lot of clients, I even get asked questions like, is there a way we can incorporate some recovery things into our products to, suggestions, things like that. So I do think that field within, health and performance is really going to take off in terms of what I'm seeing anecdotally.
Perfect. Nick, so you've mentioned Therabody and Theragun is everywhere. It's true. So what are your thoughts on, any future technologies, innovation you think could dominate the fitness and wellness space?
Yeah, and again, I think it's two things that come to mind for me. The first being, and this may sound somewhat self-serving, but certainly something like recovery, but not in the sense just specific to us. But what it does is it helps paint with broader strokes and kind of draw on a different demographic, a different audience, people that, may not want to come into a facility and do lunges for a half an hour, right? But they would come in and, after work and go through the different type of experience, and we see that kind of shift to wellness. So whether it's recovery or anything else, I think companies that offer new, unique experiences that find a way to kind of synergistically kind of get woven into the ecosystem of a club environment that can bring in a different audience, and not just through the door, but a service element or some additional way to monetize it in club. The second one I think is just generally kind of your must-haves, and a lot of this kind of falls into, software platforms, but I see a continued, really heavy growth of billing management companies, the things that you have to function and operate your business. Especially considering, the heavy emphasis now put on data and what you can do with it. And as companies in this space are kind of learning more of how to kind of track that and adapt to what they're seeing. But then also companies are going to help drive foot traffic, right? So places like ClassPass, Gym Pass, they also help bring in a much broader audience to the gym. And if you look at, especially in the studio market, like that long tail opportunity, it still is the majority of the opportunity. And a lot of those businesses are completely dependent upon, those platforms. To help, manage obviously the financial aspect of it, the scheduling aspect of it, but most importantly, exposure and then driving traffic into the door.
Very well said, very well summarized. Juraj, what are your thoughts? Besides Somavedic being something in the future, what other technologies or innovations you have read about or, saw?
Yes, so I'm not sure about the. Of course, there are bigger experts on the panel about what's coming and to see the trends. But I can definitely talk for myself about the technologies that I am excited about, or I think that will be driving and growing. So for me, it's definitely apps that are doing live diagnostic from face, like oxygen saturation, HRV, blood pressure, stress levels. because I've tested some and they are really, really great. So this is something that I'm really like excited about. And then in terms of where I see a potential for growth, and we can see all of us can see that is the products or services that are basically lowering or improving, I would say, our stress levels. Because during the COVID, like this was one of the things that majority of people were fighting with. So the companies managing this on a physical or mental level, helping people, that's definitely a big trend.
100%, like stress, mental health seems to be something that a lot of the companies are talking about. Yeah. Alex, what are your thoughts on what technologies, innovations you think could dominate the fitness wellness market?
Yeah, I think, we've already talked a lot on this panel about the use of data and AI, and I think hyper-personalization of experiences is going to be a big trend that we'll see more and more of over the next year or two. I agree with Chris. I think there is an opportunity for focus on health over fitness, health rather than fitness, exercise as medicine. I think that's going to be something that will be top of mind for a lot of operators going forward. I think in terms of technology, a couple of areas that I'm quite excited about are connecting exercise and nutrition. I think we're ripe for more of a disruption in the nutrition tracking space, creating much more frictionless ways of tracking and measuring nutrition. There's some really interesting stuff happening in terms of technology. Yuri touched on oxygen saturation. There's some great technology revolution happening around things like hydration tracking and glucose monitoring and so on as well. So I think we'll see some revolution there. And I think the other thing that we'll see is more of a step change in terms of wearable tech and moving away from likely wrist worn more towards patches, smart clothing. We're doing some work with smart clothing and sensors at the moment, which is going to be much more prevalent over the coming years. And even as simple as ear-worn sensors as well. There's a lot that can be done with ear-worn wearables. So I think there'll be some change there over the next 12 to 18 months as well, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's quite exciting, a good space to watch, right? Like what technologies and innovations. All right, so one final question for everyone, just a one sentence answer from everybody. What are you most excited about now? We are wrapping up 2021 and moving into 2022. Could be business, could be personal. So I'm going to start things off with Juraj.
Yeah, so on a global scale, I'm finally glad that even though it doesn't look like that, but I see 2022 as a better year than 2021 in terms of the whole society aspects. So that's exciting for me. And from the company perspective, I'm excited about the B2B channel opening up for us. So yeah, that's for me.
How about you, Nick?
I think I'm most excited about the reemergence of the EMEA markets and APAC market, being able to travel, heavily again, within there, working with those teams direct as opposed to, over platforms like this for the last year and a half, and really ultimately to kind of shift the conversation away from COVID more towards now, how are we, going to move on past it?
Perfect. Alex?
Yeah, I second Nick's point there about travel. It's great to see borders opening up and to see more human connection. And I think for me, really, it's the most exciting part is just creating that balance of the human connection and physical interaction with with technology, both in terms of business and working relationships and partnerships, but also in terms of the product offering, just getting to a point where we can start to actually rebalance them.
Perfect. Last but not least, Chris.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, Evolt sat empty. No one used it up for a year and a half. And so, it's good to see people using them and then, using the technology to get better and healthier. And, it's cool to say that, we have a product that is helping people kind of get back to where they want to be after so long of just, not anything good, in terms of their training and not being able to do the things that they love to do. Yeah.
I love that note. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for this amazing panel. I for sure learned a lot. I'm sure our audience also have taken away some nuggets or two. And you guys, there's a lot more content, lots of other panels to go watch. So go and watch them. And in the meantime, we send love and please stay well and stay fit and try something fun. And till we see each other again, goodbye.
Members are a lot harder to find these days, and I think that we have to evolve as a brand to ensure that we are still the leader in the 24-hour game.
Fantastic, because members always like to see something new, a new technology being integrated into the club.
We have 50,000 members throughout YMCA Victoria, over 32 health club facilities, averaging over 20,000 Evolt 360 bioscans per month.
The data that we can collect is where the value is. How can we measure success based on people achieving their goals on?
Trouble was there was no real mechanism back then to really measure body fatness. Finally, we found something that is extremely accurate. Now we can focus on what we've always wanted to focus on, and that is true body composition measurement rather than just weight.